Good afternoon and welcome to Woman Wednesdays. And we're having such an enjoyable week with Dr. Dawn Menge. She has been joining us. She joined us on Soulful Sundays and Milestone Mondays. So go back and check those videos out. She's an award-winning author and teacher and has her PhD. And today she's going to talk about never giving up. And we were talking about public speaking and different things. She's like, all these things that have to go into what she's been achieving with her life, and as she keeps going. And as we're talking this week, she has actually got a birthday this week, so that ties into never giving up. It doesn't matter how old you get, you can keep going. So I'm going to turn this over to Dawn today, and let's hear some insights she has about never giving up.
Well, we'll start with, I've been teaching students with severe cognitive delays for over 20 years. And so I actually didn't start teaching until my children were, I didn't start college until my youngest was 2. So, everything has gotten, as I've gotten older, and I will be 58, I will be having my 6th grandbaby in July, and I'm very excited about that. I'll have 3 girls and 3 boys. And that's part of what my books are about. And I haven't really talked a lot about my books, but I started publishing this one when I was getting divorced. And I named it after my grandmother, Queen Vernita. My grandmother was an astute businesswoman who actually went door to door with her father and got memberships for the United Methodist Federal Credit Union. And so she was a world traveler. She was, very, very someone that our whole family looked up to. So I named the series after her. And everyone in the series is someone in my family. This was my dad. He passed away. This was my daughter, Ashley. This is my mom, and she's in several of my books, and she does not all of them, but she goes to a lot of my book signings with me. She travels with me. She helps me write, critiquing my books. She helps me write them. And this is my grandson falling asleep in Santa's lap. And our whole family went there's a train ride from Williams, Arizona to the Grand Canyon. So my whole family went. There was 19 of us, and we went on the train ride. And I wrote this book during the pandemic. That's what I decided to do since we were teaching from home. And This is my grandsons, and they're being held up by the bandits on the train. And this is my son and my daughter-in-law and my grandbaby Madison reading Queen Vernita's. These are my sons. They were hanging over the Grand Canyon. All of my illustrations and my stories are based on my real activities, my real adventures. And so they weren't hanging over the Grand Canyon, though. There was a ledge underneath them. We didn't know that till after I panicked. And then we went on the Polar Express after the train ride. And my grandson, he was probably 3 at the time. He fell asleep in Santa's lap. So this is a real picture. And so that's how my books are created. They're based on my actual life. And that is one thing I started really, really doing after I got divorced, is I loved traveling. So I started traveling. This book is on New Orleans. And I went into the bayou twice, but this one I went on a jet boat. There was probably 6 of us on the boat. It was thundering and lightning, so we had to go in the bayou and hide underneath the moss-covered trees so we didn't get electrocuted. But then he went up on this moss thing, and the guy gets off, and he starts making this really weird noise. And then all of a sudden, you see these big eyes come up out of the water, and there was alligators coming up, right? He was probably 3 feet from me, and he's feeding them. Then he hands me a baby alligator and just puts it in my hand. And so this is me holding the baby alligator in the bayou. And when I posted the picture, somebody said, well, they bite. No, at the time that I was holding him, I didn't even think about it. I was just petting his little stomach, and it was just so exciting. Yeah. But that's part of what I did after I got divorced. I had traveled while I was still married, but I really focused on my traveling. And as soon as I published this book, I started winning awards and getting interviews. And that's part of the public speaking. I am not a public speaker, let me tell you. Yeah. And starting to talk to people, I had to have my friends sit with me when I first, started in 2008. and they would help me with my interviews and because, I just could not do it. And so the first event I went to was in a library, and we were sitting in the hallway, me and my mom, and the local TV station came through and was interviewing all the authors. And I saw them, and I went and I got really anxious, and I tried to hide in the bathroom. I was like, no, I'm not going to be here when they come. I'm like, Mom, you can talk to them. And the ladies next to me, they had written us like a science, the science series. And they're, oh my gosh, did I get lectured? If you're going to be an author, you're going to have to learn to do this. And so they made me stay. They made me stay, and I did it. I don't know if it was ever televised, but I did it. And let me tell you, I was so scared. And so that's how, you really have to fight those insecurities that you have, because women are the worst critics. We criticize ourselves so badly.
Exactly.
And we notice things that other people really aren't paying attention to, but we sure notice all of that, don't we? You know, and I actually read an article quite a while ago, and I was thinking about it the other day. It's like, I think that men make accomplishments, and they don't sit there and they criticize themselves. But a woman will, I have a PhD, I've had a profession for 20 years, I have all of these books, and what do I worry about? Do I weigh too much? Oh, is my hair messed up?
Right.
Like, it's like, you're doing all these tremendous things, and then that's what you're looking at. Like, and I don't know if men really do that. My brother once told me, we were taking pictures, and he said, I'm dressed, I'm good, I don't care. And you really wish that I could be that, like, I'm pretty secure, but still, there's always that, especially since I'm getting older, you're starting to notice things. But the rest of my life is getting so much, it's just soaring. I can't even keep up with how much I'm doing. I'm also a lecturer at the local university. And, I'm doing so many things that when I was younger, I never could have imagined I was doing any of this. And so you have to just go out there, and this is something that I'm an adventurer. I like doing things. And this book is based on who this one is. It's done. But when my kids were little, and before I started my PhD and all that, I loved to go to Hawaii. So I took all of my family, and let's see if I can find it. And we went to Hawaii, and I wanted to go into a shark cage. So dragged everybody across the island, and we went 10 miles out in the ocean and went in a shark cage. And I went in with my boys. And this is one of the illustrations that came from that adventure. And then this is the page about sharks, but this is really true. So if you go on my Facebook, and every book has an album, and it has all of the real pictures of all of the adventures that we've been on. And my daughter was on the top feeding the sharks to bring them around. And she saw them jumping out of the water and getting the meat. So she would not get in the cage, but it was really fascinating. And so that's something that you also have to do, is do those things that you've always wanted to do, but you just haven't done. You know what? You need to go out there and try them. My son was 16 at the time. My mom, myself, and my son went to Tahiti. And we went down, it was called snoobling. You wear a helmet, and there's nothing else to it. So you just have a really heavy helmet. And you go down, and we went about 12 feet down, and he was feeding the fish. And this is an actual picture I have of him. You can't even hardly see him. There's so many fish. But I just wanted to try like everything, just one of everything, and just like, I can do that, except for skydiving. I'm afraid of heights, and I am not going to try that.
Right.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
I would forget to open my chute or something. This one, we went on a cruise to Mexico, and we were in Estapa, and we went to a dolphin experience, and we were actually riding the dolphins like this, and we were having two dolphins would push against the bottom of your foot and actually put you into the air. So we would go flying. Yeah, that was so much fun. And then here I was camping. I was camping with my ex-husband. We went to El Golfo, Mexico, and went camping. And I bet you nobody's ever heard of that place. But there was a bunch of people on the shore, and we're like, what are they doing? Well, there was a grunion run. We didn't know it was going to happen. So we went there and we started collecting them. And then I believe they were eating the grunion. I was not. So I don't like fish, so I was not doing that. But this one, we were on the cruise, and we went on a family-oriented whitewater rafting trip in Acapulco. And I discussed that my brother has a disability, and he's actually in the boat. Him and my mom are in the back, and my son and I are in the front. Well, we went in November. It was over Thanksgiving break, and the water was really low, and our guide was from Peru. So he was not familiar with the river at all. So some of the boats got holes in them, so they put extra people in our boat. And they did not know how to manage the boat. So my son and I were trying to manage the front of the boat, and we got stuck on this rock, and the people and the raft and the current were pushing me under the rock, and everybody else was climbing onto the rock. So I let go, and I went down the rapids, and I could feel them over my head. I could hear the whistle blowing, and I popped up, and my son was standing on the rock screaming at me, turn around, because you have to turn around so your feet are going down so you don't hit your back. So I did, went around, they came and got me, and I was the talk of the ship. You know, that lady that fell out of the boat, you know. And the funny thing was we gave the guy this great tip because we didn't die. Right. And then later we thought, wait a minute, we weren't even supposed to be in trouble. But that's okay. We already gave him the tip. But, you know, you just have these experiences in your life, and you have to just, you know, you have to go and do them. I went kayaking to the La Bufadora. We went out in the ocean and saw it from the ocean side. And these are all what's in our books. And this one is a friend of mine from high school. And she has a therapy dog. And the therapist dog name is Harper Lee. And Harper Lee has come to our classroom and just loved our students. It was so much fun. But this is about her and therapy dogs. And so it gives you a little snippet of information about therapy dogs, why we use therapy dogs. She actually takes her dog and goes to the LAX airport and helps to soothe the passengers. And so it just helps you if you're reading the book and then you see that. And then you're out and about and you see someone with their dog and you're thinking, why do you have your dog in the restaurant? You know, so now you're going to have some information on it. Oh, okay. Now I see that person has a disability, or maybe they're anxious, or, you know, whatever's going on, but it's not like, oh, they just have their dog, you know? Right. So that's why I've included a little bit of disabilities in my books, just for a little bit of information. This one has my little brother, and he wanted to be the nutty professor with the wild hair and the bunny slippers. That's what he has. But this is Jake. This is my friend's adoptive son. He's a foster child. She didn't adopt him. He's a foster child. She's had him for over 25 years, I believe now. And he has cerebral palsy. And this is just a little bit of information about cerebral palsy, but Jake is a real person. And this little boy is Jeremy. He was one of my students, and he has Down syndrome. So this has 7 facts about Down syndrome. And so it's just a little snippet. So if you see someone that has Down syndrome, you know a little bit about them and why they have it. And then it might not be quite so scary, you know, to see them. So that's why I've added the disabilities to that.
I think this is very fascinating that she's taking all of her life's adventures and people she's meeting and family and everything and wrapping it all up in with her passions and creating this.
It's all intermixed.
All intermixed. And it all may not have happened if she hadn't gotten out of the bathroom, right?
I know.
If she just gave up and said, no, I'm going home. I'm too scared.
I can't do this. I can't do this. You know,
right. And
that's something that I started doing during the pandemic. I was traveling a lot and I was actually kind of exhausted. So I was kind of glad we stopped. But I was in Sacramento with a bunch of teachers and their schools were shutting down from LA, and some of them were from up in Sacramento. And I'm like, why are we shutting our schools? Like, I was so busy, I didn't know what was going on. So
Right.
I came home, went to work Friday, and we never went back. We weren't even allowed back in our classrooms. And so I went to the dollar store and created my own classroom from home, figured out how to work Zoom and reach my students. And at first I was like, we can't do this. My students are severely handicapped. We can't Zoom. Like, they can't do this. But all of my parents were so wonderful, and they really helped, and they stayed with their child through the, sitting right next to them. And so it turned out to be okay. We did really good during it. But part of what I did was like, okay, I'm not traveling, I'm not doing that. So I'm going to catch up on publishing my books, because when I first started, I was going to do one a year. And then, of course, I got busy and some things happened and I got behind. So this year I published 4 during the pandemic. I published this one. I have The Dragon's Breath that I published. And I just, a couple weeks ago, I haven't even got a copy of it yet. It's based on our camping trips. We go to a place up the central coast of California called Halama Beach. We were going every single year for our camping trips, and there'd be like 20 some of us. And so I needed some more pre-K books to read to the groups. So I made it a pre-K, and it's all about camping and flying kites and swimming and all sorts of stuff. So, it has raccoons and an ostrich farm in it, and it's all based on our actual camping trips. And so I'm excited to see that one. I just actually, they just made the video trailer for it. So I just accepted the video trailer, and I did that one. I'm doing one that would be 6th grade level on Tucson, Arizona. It's based on one of my favorite bed and breakfasts there. And it's got history and all sorts of things in it. So it's good for a higher level learning person. And then this summer, I'm going to go on a road trip to Wyoming and write a book with, she was my best friend, and all from 5th grade on, and she passed away in her 30s. But her father contacted me and wants to write a book on his area. So I'm going to drive out there and we're going to write the book. And it's going to be like a memorial, not a memorial, but like a memory book for the family. And, all the family's going to be in it. That's what we do. I put my friends in there, and they have sometimes some of the books have whole families in them. And so, it's just a great way to interact everything. And how everything's all connected is I wrote the book in my credentialing class to get my credential, and I am a professor at the same college. Yeah. And so it all just goes around onto this big circle, but it all works out really well. And the administration is very supportive of my books and everything that I'm doing, and I've been really lucky with that.
Well, that's fabulous. Well, thank you so much. I think we're running a little bit out of time today, and I hope this does encourage some of our viewers out there that regardless of your circumstances, if you go back a couple of the videos, she talked about being stalked, and she's talked about some of the other things that she's struggled with. That look at all what you can accomplish if you just keep going. One day at a time. Stuff happens. One thing at a time. You keep moving, and just don't ever give up. So thank you again, Dawn, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And happy birthday. And
thank you.
And she's going to join us again tomorrow. And this is kind of a new segment for me tomorrow, is Try It Thursday. So I'm going to ask her to give us a challenge on something that you can try to improve, to help others, help you all live your life, your best life. So check in with us tomorrow. And as always, we're going to have all of Dawn's information connected with the post with the videos. So thank you again, Dawn, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.